All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Throwback Thursday. It's one of my favorite videos to do here. So we got Brian and Randy here. We're going to talk about a deal that we did over kind of in the Irish Hill neighborhood, just outside of downtown. It's a good one to throw back because there's a lot of lessons learned, but it was just kind of a quirky kind of deal. So Brian, why don't you kind of just tell us a little bit about the front end of that? And then
Man, it wasn't even a quirky deal. It was just a bad deal all the way around.
yeah,
Man.
I was trying to give us the benefit of the
It's just
doubt.
a bad deal. So you know what? Every now and then you make mistakes in this business. This is definitely one of the mistakes that we made. So this was a property, um, kind of southwest of the downtown or southeast of the downtown of Indianapolis, and decent area. It's pretty close to the hot Fountain Square, like one of the hottest neighborhoods here in Indy when it comes to like flips and things like that and appreciation. And this was a rental property. So our acquisition manager at the time, he wasn't very experienced. He was kind of itching to get a deal. He went and took pictures. There's one that I was analyzing just off of the pictures and things like that. It looked pretty decent. It looked all right. Ended up just being just kind of a mess all the way around. So we bought this one to wholesale, not just a straight up wholesale. So we bought this one to wholesale since it did have a tenant in place. But so we had to go through an eviction with the tenant, which was tricky, which was tough. Randy and I went and checked this one out to figure out like why it wouldn't sell like after about 3 months, and like pictures looked okay. The report we got back from, our guy that walked it said it was okay and stuff like that. So we went and walked it, like figuring out like, why can't we sell this in a decent area and stuff like that. This is one that like you pull right in front of the house. It's like kind of on a weird corner. It's across from like a service station, so kind of some weird things there as far as like kind of location of where it actually is. But then like going inside, like first thing I feel is like a flea jump on my leg. And I'm like, oh crap. That's like, we didn't know that. We should have got a bomb. Like that's one thing. But then you look at it and like the floor is just like kind of like a roller coaster. It's like, oh man, what is going on with this foundation and stuff like that? Turns out that the neighbors, anybody that went and looked at the house, the neighbors are basically like, don't buy this house. It's got this wrong with it, this wrong with it. So it was it was just like a perfect storm of like, hey, if there's something that could go wrong with this house, if somebody goes and looks at it, it was going wrong. So
Yeah, yeah,
but this is where on the front end, kind of, take responsibility for this of like where I wasn't kind of pushing to like ask all the questions I needed to on the front end before we bought it, because I was just looking at the pictures, kind of looking at the price and kind of saying, hey, let's try this and whatever. So those things happen and stuff like that. But, this is one that, we kind of look at it as like, hey, this is what happened. We're not going to be able to sell it for the price that we need to.
yeah.
We're going to have to kind of take a loss. So Rainey, let's talk about that on your side a little bit. It was kind of like, when it's going to be a defeat, and then kind of just like kind of negotiating to still get like the best price, but the best price you're going to be losing on is always a tough pill to swallow. But how do you go about that, man?
Yeah. So the thing that stunk about this one for me is that we had a deal that was, we were, let's just say we were plus, we were
Yeah.
in the money making,
Yeah. A couple times actually. But
a
yeah.
couple times, and it's just, like we just didn't know how bad the property was when we bought it, and it came to bite us in the butt, when we went to go sell it. So that I fell out of contract a couple times, and at that point, okay, I'm not going to make money. So from there, you just say, what is the least amount of loss, or I guess like what's that amount of money I'm okay to lose, and then anything more than that is just way too much. So I just determined what that number was, and had to really negotiate, the price that we got up, which is it's really sad because I think we still lost a good chunk on that, but it just got up to a price where I was like, okay, I know I can't sell it for more than this. Like this is what the property really is worth. Let's just get rid of it, count our losses, and move on.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And you're still, that's the tricky part, is that remember that you still aren't just trying to take as the little amount of loss that you can. You still want to set your buyer up to be successful with it.
Yeah,
So you can't just like, hey, push it off, say, hey, oh yeah, you can do this with it. You can try to upsell him, any of those things, because you know what, that's still a buyer that I still want to have a relationship with on the back end. They know that like, hey, this situation, it's a bad, it was a tough property for us, but here's what you can do with it. But we're giving you a price that you can still be successful at it.
yeah,
I think it's a key thing too. And then just always, of course, learning from your mistakes. Obviously, we've learned of like, hey, this is what we need to look at when we analyze properties with tenants in it, and kind of knowing those things of asking, the tenants and, if you have a chance, talk to the neighbors too. That kind of give you the lowdown on some properties and things too. And then just when you're walking in, things to be careful of and stuff. So things to consider. Things happen. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen too. But those are the things that you'll learn from the most. If we would have sold this right away for property, number one, the buyer might have been mad at us, and number two, we wouldn't have learned the lessons that we learned off of this one and stuff too. So kind of take the positive along with some of those. Even though you do take a loss, there are definitely lessons learned. We definitely learned on this one. So thanks a lot, guys, for another Throwback Thursday, and we will see you next week.